Andy, how would you kind of assess where your defense is at? Here with 2 games left, obviously, last couple of games, teams able to run the ball decently. And I don't know if that's been a concern for you guys, but where do you feel like you guys are at right now?
I think we did a better job last week. We had a couple of explosives that we would love to have back. Just with some assignment errors, it is very, very correctable. But for the most part, we were able to handle the run game last week. Didn't put ourselves in too many bad situations. The first and second team guys played right up until the fourth quarter, and at that point we had done a pretty good job keeping them out of the end zone and keeping them from moving up and down the field on us. So there's much improvement going on the road, doing that, handling that stuff. But obviously, as always, there's plenty of room for improvements. And that's where we're at in the season. You put out one fire and there's another one started, and that's the joy of this game.
Joy. But the turnover thing, obviously you're not an offensive coach, but it seems like every time you guys get one, it just turns the momentum, and the offense is able to do something with it. How big is that for you guys? It seems like all year when you have gotten them, you guys have done something with it.
Well, it's at this point now, but I can say it with a smile on my face that luckily we had a lot of opportunities, but the offense has done a good job and we got them right. But what, the guys are doing a better job, and I think first and foremost it just comes down to confidence. And there's still some out there that we left out on the field, but we'll get those. We'll keep getting better, and I think the guys are doing a much better job, going in and attacking the ball.
Speaking of with that, Chance has 2 picks now this year. How has he played? Obviously, we haven't talked to him, but how has he played, and how would you kind of assess what he's been able to do for you guys?
Yeah, especially late here, he's been doing a good job back there in the secondary, in executing his techniques and playing with great eye control. That's put him in position to have those opportunities, to make plays on the ball, and it's awesome to see. We're going to need his best football out of him down here the stretch, down the stretch of the season here. So.
We've been talking obviously about being senior night, and you finally are about to have to say goodbye to some of the guys at your position.
Yeah.
And I guess, have you had moments where this season at all where you're like, dang, I'm gonna miss those guys or anything like that? Or
yeah, I mean that happens all the time. Thinking about the things they do, the things they get done. We got some older guys that have obviously been here and played for a long time. We've been together for a long time, and then we got some newer guys that we're bringing along, and you could just see the difference. But I'll tell you this, the older guys that have been playing, for the last 3 or 4 years and got a lot of experience, they've done a heck of a job helping bring the young guys along. And Tyson Maeva played the most last week he's ever played and played really well, and I think that's accredited to him and to obviously the Ben Weavers, and Joey and D. Lee and Tanner and those guys helping him, get to where he's at right now.
Wait, steal Paul J. Question for you. Offensively, what is UNLV? What do they do? What kind of stands out? And obviously those guys have gone through 3 quarterbacks, and they still can run the ball well. So what's enabled them to be successful?
14th rush offense in the nation. And we talked about it a few weeks ago. There's some really good coaches in this league. There's some really good players in this in this conference, and goes to show you right there. I mean, week in and week out, we've got some offenses that we're facing that run the ball really well. Some design schemes that are very effective, and then obviously players that make those schemes good. So I think that's what UNLV has done a really good job with. They can pass the ball. Obviously, their wide receiver has gotten injured, so they have very capable tight ends in the pass game and other wide receivers that they could go to. So we got to make sure that we're prepared for obviously the pass game that comes off the run game, because that's what balanced teams do, and they have done a great job running the ball. And they are balanced in terms of their run pass stuff and how they handle that stuff.
That Palandek, they made the switch to him at quarterback. Yeah. I mean, that one run where he went right up the middle for 75 yards. I mean, it just seems like he's got some speed.
He was rolling, huh?
Yeah, I mean, what I think is that still had 75 other rushing yards and like 13 carries, and what you guys have had a little bit of trouble with these mobile quarterbacks the last couple of weeks. What about him maybe?
Yeah, there's no question he's done a real good job stepping in there, for their offense, and not only executing the design run plays, but also, like you're alluding to, is just being effective in keeping plays going, with his legs in the passing game. And so that's obviously something we've seen the last couple weeks here that everybody's having to deal with, and obviously we got teams in our conference that are very high up in the nation in rushing yards, and because they got good players and they got good schemes, and that's the challenge of it each and every week, of finding ways to stop and making sure you have the correct numbers, and you got guys in positions to stop all the different looks.
I know Allen and Potter. But does he have more speed maybe than those two guys?
He's pretty fast.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking. You go into it every week thinking, this dude's. You look at it, especially on the particular run play that you're talking about. He split the defense and was out, and so that's pretty impressive in itself. And it's not only that clip where you see it.
Does it? Obviously you guys needed some help from Wyoming when they beat Wyoming, and do you see the offensive numbers, the points they put up? Does that kind of get your players' attention there when they get in the 60-plus point range?
I think at this point, it's each and every day getting ready for the game, and each and every game is dire straits. So, it's go time, and the motivation is there within our guys, and obviously we got a great challenge ahead of us for us on defense, the 14th ranked rush offense in the nation, and obviously coming in where it's crunch time. It's November, it's time to go. We keep talking about it. We come in here, talk about that November grind. We said the same thing to our guys. We find different ways to motivate them to have fun, though, to keep it going, because this point in the year, the wear and tear, not only physically but mentally, is there for everybody, not just for this team, but for everybody. That's football. But I think it does. The challenge definitely presents itself, and that's what you're alluding to. There's a big challenge there.
You mentioned Tyson Maeva, but also in that game, DeAndre had a big hit.
Yeah.
Kekoa, I remember there was a play where guys getting loose on the edge and he stopped them.
Yeah, so that's where we're trying to get to. We got some young guys that are freshmen that are playing, and we're getting to that point in the season where it's like, so always at this point, at the end of October, for all the guys at redshirt, the guys that nobody gets to see, we get to see a noticeable change in practice with them on scout team. They're giving it back, to the first defense, the first offense. They're able to hold their own because they've been training with Coach Pittman for 3 months now. Now we're able to start seeing that with these guys that are playing for us at a young age, with all the practice reps and them handling their techniques and fundamentals, and obviously the schematics to go along with it. So it's exciting to see those guys jump in the game. Obviously we got to do a little bit better job, controlling the game there in the fourth quarter when they get in there. But individually, there's some guys that had their best performance, of their young careers.
Ben Weaver, player and person. What's he meant to you?
He's just been unbelievable. In terms of the leadership role, obviously that's who he is as a person. What he gives us here in football is what you get on campus with him. That's what you get, in some of the things he's already got going on in the network he's building, in the business field that he's going to go into. And then it's the same all the time. You know what you're going to get out of him. And, he's up in here late last night preparing and asking questions, about certain things in the game plan, and going back in there in the film room and watching film. That's what you're going to get out of Ben Weaver. The night before, he's up in here writing papers, with some other guys till late at night. He's not a guy that's afraid to put in the work. He knows that, he's very intelligent. He's a hard worker, and he knows what happens when he puts, when he puts the work in.
With Darren Lee, we were asking Ben about him yesterday, and he said he's starting whatever role he's needed. To have him be a guy who didn't play a ton defensively his first 3 years, and then this year he's had to step in a huge role, and seems like he's obviously played really well for him.
Been unbelievable. That's what we talk about all the time. In this game of football, guys got to step up. And obviously, when Joey got injured earlier on in the season, and as Joey's worked his way back, D-Lee has done a heck of a job, and that's D-Lee for you. He's gonna give it his all each and every day, and it's crazy when you think about it. The time flies. The days are so long, but you start stacking those days up and the weeks up and the months up, and here we are with 2 regular season games left with these guys that obviously we're gonna miss. With the linebackers and obviously the rest of the seniors, and Sam McCaskill and Chancellor and Moxie. How about Moxie? How much he's played for us here at Boise State. And Chance battling back from his injuries you know, and having the fortitude to push through and be where he's at right now, and obviously on the upward swing of playing his best football.
You brought